The wedding guests fell silent as I stepped into the aisle. 200 people froze, champagne flutes suspended mid-toast. The string quartet's final note hung in the air. My sister Rebecca stood under the flower arch in her white gown, her spine stiffening before she turned. "I have a reason," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "My sister declared me dead to steal my inheritance." The wedding bouquet slipped from Rebecca's hands, hitting the marble floor with a soft thud as she turned. The blood drained from her face. "Sarah?" she whispered, barely audible. The ballroom erupted in confused murmurs. Phones emerged, recording what had transformed from Boston's society wedding of the year to something else entirely. "Hello, family," I said, walking slowly down the aisle. "Sorry I'm late. Being dead really throws off your schedule." My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 29 and an English teacher in Thailand. This is the story of how I came back from the dead to reclaim my life. It started with an email 6 weeks earlier. I was sitting in my Bangkok apartment grading papers when a subject line caught my eye: "Condolences for your family's loss." Confused, I opened it. The message was from my mother's friend. "Dear Rebecca, I just heard about Sarah's tragic accident in Thailand. What a devastating loss. Sarah was such a bright light, taken far too soon." I read it 3 times. Sarah? They were talking about me. I was Sarah Mitchell, very much alive and not involved in any accidents. My phone chimed with more notifications. Old classmates, distant relatives, former colleagues, all sending condolences to my family, particularly my sister Rebecca. The room seemed to tilt as I scrolled through message after message, expressing sympathy for my apparent death. "Died in a motorcycle accident in rural Thailand 2 weeks ago. Such a tragedy, so young. Rebecca is devastated. Planning a memorial service." My hands shook violently as I called my best friend Emma back in Boston. "Emma," I said, "something weird is happening. I'm getting condolence emails about my own death." There was a long pause. "Sarah," Emma finally said, her voice cracking, "Rebecca told everyone you died in a motorcycle accident 2 weeks ago. She said you were traveling in rural Thailand and—" She broke off. "Oh my God, you're alive!" I felt the blow physically, like I'd been punched in the stomach. The air left my lungs as I slid down the wall to the floor. "My own sister declared me dead," I whispered, but deep down I already knew the answer. Our grandmother had passed away 6 months earlier, leaving behind a substantial inheritance, $2 million each for Rebecca and me. There was a catch. We could only access our portions on our 30th birthdays. Rebecca had turned 30 last month. I wouldn't for another year. "Sarah," Emma said gently, "Rebecca claimed your portion of the inheritance. She had some lawyer declare you legally dead and provided documentation of your accident. The money was released to her last week." The reality of what my sister had done crystallized. $2 million. That's what my life was worth to her. I opened Instagram and found Rebecca's profile. She was posting photos of expensive shopping trips, a new Tesla, lavish parties, all paid for with my inheritance. But what hit hardest were the posts about me, a tribute to her beloved sister taken too soon, a tearful remembrance at a charity event in my memory. She was playing the grieving sister to perfection while spending my money. She'd even created a hashtag, #Live Like Sarah. "What are you going to do?" Emma asked. I took a deep breath, shock giving way to something colder. I looked around my modest apartment at the photos of my adventures across Southeast Asia, at the stack of papers from my students. "Nothing," I said finally. "Not yet." "What do you mean?" "Rebecca thinks she's won. She thinks I'm too far away to find out or fight back." I scrolled to another post, Rebecca in a bridal boutique. "So I'm going to let her keep thinking that." "Sarah, she's getting married in 6 weeks, right? Big society wedding at the Four Seasons?" "Yes." I felt a smile spread across my face, though there was no warmth in it. "Perfect. I think it's time for a family reunion." The next month was a blur of preparation. I took a leave from teaching, citing a family emergency. I didn't tell anyone I was coming home except Emma. As far as the world knew, Sarah Mitchell was still dead. I cashed in my savings and sold some jewelry from my grandmother to fund my flight back to Boston. The money was tight, but my righteous anger was worth more than any financial security. I'd figure out the rest later. I spent hours tracking Rebecca's moves online. She'd upgraded her entire life with my money. A penthouse, designer clothes, an extravagant wedding. But the posts that hurt most were where she played the tragic figure, accepting an award in memory of my free-spirited sister, sharing Sarah stories that painted me as reckless while positioning herself as responsible. "Look at this," I showed Emma during a video call. Rebecca trying on her wedding dress, captioned, "Wish you were here to be my maid of honor, sister. I know you're watching from above, always in my heart." Emma made a disgusted sound. "She's unbelievable. And your parents?" I felt the familiar ache. They probably think it's easier this way. Having a dead daughter who died following her dreams fits their narrative better than a living one who disappointed them. I spent the next month in Emma's apartment, venturing out only in disguise. She supported me completely, covering my expenses until I could access my frozen accounts. 3 days before the wedding, my cousin Michael, who worked at the hotel, texted me, "Is that really you? Are you actually alive?" He'd recognized me from a glimpse in the lobby despite my disguise. My grandmother's distinctive jade necklace had given me away. After swearing him to secrecy, I enlisted his help. "I can get you the exact schedule, security details, everything," he texted. "What you're planning, it's going to destroy her." "She destroyed herself," I replied. "I'm just making sure everyone sees it." The wedding day arrived bright and clear. I carefully applied makeup, styled my hair, and slipped into a deep blue dress I'd chosen meticulously, a dress I knew would photograph well. "The ceremony starts at 2 o'clock, Emma said. "Are you sure you don't want me to go with you?" I shook my head. "No, I need the element of surprise. Just be ready with the car for a quick getaway if things get ugly." The Four Seasons was decked out in wedding splendor when I arrived. Thanks to Michael, I slipped in through a service entrance, bypassing security. He'd given me a staff pass and timed my entrance between shift changes when the regular guards would be distracted with handover procedures. From my hidden spot, I watched everything. The elaborate arch, the rows of chairs filled with Boston's elite, the string quartet. My parents arrived. Mom in a designer dress, Dad in his tuxedo, working the room like professionals. "Such a happy day, though bittersweet without Sarah," I heard my mother say, her voice carrying just the right note of grief. Then Rebecca appeared, resplendent in white, surrounded by bridesmaids. The dress probably cost more than I made in a year, paid for with my money. The ceremony began. I let Rebecca have her moment, walking down the aisle, taking her place under the flower arch, exchanging glances with her fiancé Mark. I waited through the welcome, through words about love and commitment. Then came the words I'd been waiting for. "If anyone knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace." I stepped into the center aisle. "I have a reason," I said clearly. "My sister declared me dead to steal my inheritance." The silence was absolute. Rebecca's face went white as she turned. Guests froze in confusion, murmuring and craning their necks. "Sarah?" my mother whispered, her face crumbling in shock. "Hello, family," I said, walking slowly down the aisle. "Sorry I'm late. Being dead really throws off your schedule." Rebecca's fiancé Mark looked between us in confusion. "What's going on? Rebecca, what is she talking about?" I smiled coldly. "Oh, she didn't tell you? Your bride had me declared legally dead 2 months ago, fabricated documents about a motorcycle accident in Thailand so she could claim my inheritance early. $2 million. That's what my life was worth to her." The murmuring grew louder. Phones were recording everything. Rebecca's perfect society wedding was becoming a different kind of social media sensation. "That's not true," Rebecca stammered weakly, eyes darting frantically. "You thought what?" I demanded, now standing just feet from her. "That I wouldn't find out? That you could just erase me, take what was mine, and build your perfect life on top of it?" "Sarah," my father stepped forward, face red. "This is hardly the time or place." "When would be a better time, Dad?" When she's finished spending my money? When she's solidified her position as Boston's grieving socialite? I turned back to Rebecca, who seemed to be shrinking in her expensive dress. You didn't just steal my money. You stole my existence. You turned me into a tragic cautionary tale for sympathy. Well, surprise, I'm not a tragedy. I'm your sister, and I'm very much alive. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Rebecca's perfect wedding was unraveling thread by thread. Mark, Rebecca turned to her fiancé, reaching for his hand, but he stepped back, looking at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Did you do this? Did you really have your own sister declared dead for money? Rebecca's silence was answer enough. He turned and walked away, ignoring her calls. I have proof, I announced. Emails, documents, everything showing what she did. I've already sent it to the police and our family lawyer. I had reached out to our grandmother's attorney the day after I arrived, using an old card he'd given me years ago. He was horrified by what Rebecca had done and immediately agreed to help me. But I thought everyone here deserved to know who they were celebrating today. My mother stepped forward, tears streaming. Sarah, please. We can talk about this privately as a family. I looked at her and felt a mix of pity and anger. We stopped being a family the moment you decided it was easier to believe I was dead than accept who I really am. The aftermath was exactly the kind of scandal Boston's elite would gossip about for years. The story exploded across media. Bride's dead, sister returns at wedding. Socialite accused of faking sister's death for inheritance. I spoke only through the family lawyer as we began reclaiming my inheritance and pressing charges for fraud. The police want to question Rebecca, Emma told me the next morning. Apparently, she's not answering her phone. I scrolled through my phone, looking at a photo someone had captured of Rebecca's face when she saw me. The shock, the fear, the realization that her perfect facade was crumbling. She's probably hiding at our parents' house, I said. That's where she always ran when things went wrong. I was right. Rebecca was holed up in our childhood home, refusing to speak to anyone except our parents. The money had been frozen, and criminal charges were pending. A week later, Mark, Rebecca's almost husband, visited me. I had to see you, he said. I needed to understand. Did you know? Before the wedding, did you know what kind of person she was? No, I answered honestly. I knew she was ambitious, materialistic even, but this, having me declared dead, I never thought she'd go that far. He nodded. I've called off the engagement, permanently. I can't be with someone who would do something like that to their own sister. My parents finally reached out 2 weeks after the wedding, wanting to talk things through as a family. I agreed to meet them at a quiet cafe downtown. They looked older, more fragile. Mom's hands shook as she stirred her untouched coffee. Dad couldn't meet my eyes. We didn't know about what Rebecca did, Mom started. We really thought... That I died? I finished. And you didn't think to verify that? To ask questions? To maybe try calling me? We tried calling your old number, Dad defended weakly. I changed my number 2 years ago, I said. Did you try email? Social media, my school in Bangkok, or was it just easier to believe I was dead? They exchanged glances, and their silence told the truth. They had accepted Rebecca's story because it fit their narrative, the wayward daughter meeting a tragic end. What's going to happen to Rebecca? Mom asked finally. That's up to the police and the district attorney, I replied. The fraud she committed is serious. She faces jail time. Dad's face crumpled. She's your sister. Surely you don't ask me to protect her. She tried to erase me from existence for money. I stood up. I'm heading back to Bangkok next week. I have a life there, students who depend on me. You're leaving? But we just got you back. You never lost me, I said quietly. You just never accepted who I really was. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Rebecca avoided jail but was ordered to repay everything, plus penalties. She was also required to make public apologies and correct every false statement about my death. During the investigation, it came to light that Rebecca had bribed a local official in Thailand to falsify accident reports and used her connection to one of Dad's doctor friends to create convincing medical documentation about my death. She'd gone to extraordinary lengths to erase me. I watched from Bangkok as she made these apologies, looking small and subdued, nothing like the confident socialite she'd once been. 6 months later, I received an email from Rebecca, filled with apologies and explanations, talking about therapy and regret. She wrote about growing up in my shadow and how the pressure to maintain her perfect image had twisted her. I read it several times but didn't respond. Maybe someday we'd rebuild some kind of relationship, but for now, the distance felt right. I had my life in Bangkok, my students, my freedom, and most importantly, I had myself, alive, whole, and unwilling to be erased. Yesterday, I received another wedding invitation, not for a society wedding this time, but for Emma's small ceremony on the beach. She'd written, "This time, you better be there, alive and in person." I smiled as I marked the date. Some bridges had burned beyond repair, but others had grown stronger. I had learned who truly cared about me, not as a society daughter or a tragic story, but as myself. In the end, Rebecca's attempt to erase me had only made me more real. She had tried to write my ending, but instead she had only helped me begin a new chapter, one where I was the author of my own story. As I sit here in my Bangkok apartment watching the sunset, I think about what it means to truly exist. Rebecca had thought she could erase me with paperwork and lies, but our existence isn't defined by legal documents or inheritance money or society's approval. We exist in the lives we touch, the choices we make, and the truth we choose to live. And no one, not even family, has the power to take that away.